All right. Hey, I'm sitting down with Joe here. We're preparing for week 3 of this fantastic book. You can see the image that Joe's got over his left shoulder. I got it right here. Who, not how. Really good discussion. It's a refocus on the who element. Joe, so far so good, huh?
Yeah, it's amazing how this book has flowed, and the nuggets that we pull out of it.
Yeah, for sure. And the whole idea, guys, is it's not Joe and I, if we could rename the title of this book, what would we call it?
Who before how?
Yeah. Because let's be real, right? How still matters, guys. How matters a lot, but it's just that the how gets in the way of what needs to be done, and making that impact. And that impact is meant to be done with other people. We need to bring other people in our lives. Week 1, we talked about freedom of time.
Time,
Week 2 was freedom of
money.
money. Now we're talking about freedom in our relationships. And I almost want, I mean, this is such a great section of the book. I almost wish that we could have started here. I get the reason why we had time and then money, but this relationship piece is really cool. But again, he says our level of freedom in time, money, relationships, and purpose is directly related to our commitment to who, not how, right? Or
Right.
who over how, before how,
Yeah.
as we just said.
Yeah.
So super excited about this. Let's dive in. We'll talk about freedom of relationships. And I think it ties to that statement that he makes a couple times, like for every who in our life should be transformational, not transactional. That participation without fellowship just is a transaction. We need that fellowship. Transformation happens through fellowship. All right. So now we're going to get into freedom of relationships. So there's some questions that come out of here. So it's, you guys are preparing to be a part of our discussions on Sunday night or Wednesday morning, whatever group you're in. Here, we're going to throw a few of those questions. We'll talk about them a little bit more in each of our groups. But the first one is how can you be a good who for others? Yeah, we're trying to bring in good who's in our lives, but how can you be a good who for somebody else? And all right, I'm going to, Joe, it does feel like I'm going Dr. Seuss on everybody, right? Right?
Can you be a good who?
And in my better days, I'd be able to just kind of quote out,
That's right. Yes.
some Who, Dr. Seuss stuff, and maybe in recording 4 we'll do that,
There we go.
but not right now. So I do like this idea.
And the 3 chapters start with this question of how.
Yeah,
All right. So this is why we got back to this who is important and how is important too. But
yeah. So you still got to ask the how question, because
yeah,
even Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who's a great author, and Dan Sullivan, who really kind of inspired this book, they asked the how question: how to
yeah,
be good for a good who for others. And how can you be a good who for others? It's a great question. Take time to think about that. Um, we'll talk about how we can create value first in our discussions, and that's really going to be powerful. And how, Adam Grant, he's got a couple quotes from Adam Grant in here that I like. Givers succeed in a way that creates a ripple effect. How can you create that ripple effect? Enhancing the success of people around you. And this idea of gratitude, the importance of gratitude, I think is really powerful. There's a lot. There's a lot here. I
well, and I think
highlighted.
I think he's really calling us to be better leaders.
Oh, for
And
sure.
as such, we've talked about this in our groups, but also a lot of the people that are maybe listening are John Maxwell team members. And we've all had this common idea of transformation about perhaps being on one of the teams that went down to Guatemala,
Yeah.
Paraguay, or Costa Rica, or other places across the world. And we're modeling. One of the things we talk about is modeling that value or that leadership quality.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. I mean, we're called to be better leaders, and we all have read all the leadership books, and we've got some great mentors in our life. But it really comes down to how are we serving other people and how
Yes.
are other people serving within our the just cause that we have.
Hmm.
You know, it's really powerful. How to be a good who for others. There were some good takeaways out of that. I'll just share a couple as we see this. Really, it's for discussion, and we want you to be a part of this dialogue. But we should really never enter a relationship without having first created value in that relationship. That's huge. And I can't wait for some of the dialogue on that. What's the power, the benefit, the stories related to that?
Right.
You and I talked before we hit the record button about that kind of situation that you just can't go up to somebody and ask for a relationship and enter in a relationship without really truly adding value to that person.
Hmm.
So that's so key, especially as we're early into 2021. Let's do it right. You
Yep.
know, there's a lot of good takeaways out of that first chapter, man, in this part of the book. So looking forward to that. Yeah, he talks about never stop creating value and nurturing your relationships. Never stop creating value and nurturing your relationships. Asking what's in it for them rather than what's in it for me.
Yeah.
So those are some good takeaways. So the next chapter in this section is another how question, right, Joe?
Yes, it is.
And I love it, right? How to avoid the wrong who's, even
Yeah.
highly attractive ones.
Yeah. So first, how to be a good Hugh. Hugh, how to be a good who.
Yeah,
Sorry, Star Trek coming in. Hugh.
yeah,
How to be a good who, but how to avoid the bad who, the wrong who's. Not so much the bad, but the wrong who's
yeah.
won't help you get to what you need.
Not to confuse with the Yahoos, which is
Yeah.
University of Virginia. That's different. Having too much fun here. It is New Year's Eve, and we're kind of laying these things down. So, or actually New Year's Day.
Day, yes.
So, yeah, this one's good. How to avoid the wrong who's. I think that's a powerful question. How do you avoid the wrong who's? Because it happens, right? We all have
Mhm.
some wrong who's in our life,
Yes.
right? I mean, we wouldn't be human if we didn't. So, how do we take care of that? So, there's a lot of good takeaways. How to say no, which is tough. It's hard, guys. It's hard to say no, but there's ways to say no. You
And
know,
I like this whole idea of the assessment. Here's a real simple assessment for each of anyone that's listening here. Look at the person and are they aligning with your values?
yeah, that's good. That's good. All right. What are your values? Make sure you
Mm.
take time to make sure you're clear on what your values are, and then start thinking about those around you. Do they align with your values? It's a good point, Joe. Um, I love the discussion of growth in us where we look back to the person we were 10 years ago. I mean, there's some powerful questions can be great in our discussions.
Yeah.
Um, that's going to be fun. It's kind of, we're going to be jumping in the DeLorean on this one and seeing our past and our future too, I think.
Yes.
So, um, but yeah, good takeaways. In order to have freedom of relationships, you can no longer engage with people that don't align with your vision. And to your point, what are your values?
Hmm.
And and then as we say no to people and opportunities that don't align with that vision and those values, we're really aligning it to our future self. And what happens, what he shares, which is pretty powerful, is that our confidence will increase.
Yes.
And because of that, then the team around us, the people around us, our inner circle, become more confident too. Right.
Yeah. I
So
love that ripple effect. Yeah.
it is so powerful. I love it. The third chapter in this book that we'll be talking about is another how. And this one's really good. I think he lands the plane here. How to create effective collaboration.
Yeah.
Collaborations, really, it's more than just one. Like you and I,
Hmm.
we're having effective collaboration in our
Yes.
discussions and our masterminds as we do this Sunday nights and Wednesday morning. It's all about having effective collaboration. Yeah, we're taking some ideas from a book, but the most important thought are the ones that you guys have, the ones that really resonate with you. And we want to hear those thoughts. And that's really important. And so that's why we do what we do with the mastermind.
Yeah, it's another book that we talked about this past year with Seth Godin's Tribes. It's an older book, but
Yeah.
we talk through and what that meant, and uh, how that interplay works, and I think speaks, some, maybe some of the things we talk about in our mastermind to bring those elements through, like we'd like to do.
Yeah.
Start compiling instead of having each book onto itself. Start
Right.
see the interplay.
Yeah, great point, Joe. So Joe's hitting a key point. We don't just read a book and then we forget about it. We actually try to leverage it later on. So he's talking about the Tribes book by Seth Godin, and we're actually, even though we don't really call out all the books by title as we go through some of this, the truth of it is that we're pulling the scaffolding from other books that we've done because they've given us a really a good framework.
Right.
And so it's so powerful when you look at the sum of all the parts of what we've done through the books that we've studied and just the impact that can be made. And we're inviting you guys to join us in 2021 to continue on this journey as we go through these different books. There is a sequence to it, and sometimes we don't know what it is until we actually do it, but it is pretty powerful to see how these things kind of build on top of one another. So pretty pumped about that.
And to think about where we're going from this book. But first,
Yep.
we need to get through this book, because there's still a lot of value, and we're going to see that in the section, in the last
Yeah.
lesson, the last section of this book.
Yeah, but and think about, right? If we're talking about the freedom of relationships. How critical is that to our well-being? Is having good relationships around us so
Right.
powerful. So, some takeaways out of this final chapter in the book. There's a bunch, man. There's so much. I can't get through them all, but a couple of them here that I think really kind of sets the table for the week that's going to follow, the freedom of purpose. But
Yes.
but
Yes.
he says wherever you see brilliant work happening, collaboration is happening. And so think about that, right? Where you see some magical things that are happening,
Yes.
it better not be done in a silo, because if it is, it's not going to live long enough. You want it done in a collaborative environment. Culture is created through collaboration. Culture is caring. And we care about the things that we create. We're creative beings. We're created as
Mhm.
such to do that. And so we want that to happen. And we don't have to have all the answers. That's the other
Right.
big takeaway. We don't have to have all the answers. Thank goodness for that, right, Joe?
Yeah. Well, and it relates back to the first section that we looked at about time.
Yeah.
The minute we start looking for all the answers ourselves,
Yeah.
we won't even get started.
Yeah. If we're trying to get everything lined up, get it all perfect, making sure we know, we've watched all the YouTube videos, get it all, just do it. That's the
How to cut
Nike,
the corner tile.
the Nike line, right? What is it?
Yes,
Just,
just
just,
do it.
just do it. Just go. Just try. Find out. Learn. You can only possess what you experience. Truth to be understood must be lived.
Hmm.
A.W. Tozer. Come on, just go. Step forward. Do it. Learn that way. You don't have to have all the answers. It's wise to consider yourself ignorant on some things, most things maybe, and to
Hmm.
seek other people's perspectives and solutions. You want their insight. You want to see what their side of the beach ball is, right?
Yeah. And there was
So,
a group. It's mentioned in the book in one of his stories, uh, but it's really, we'll just call it the Inklings. And we'll get into, at least in the mastermind, we'll talk a little bit about the Inklings and what might be an Inkling group for you
yeah,
that you're participating in.
yeah, that's good. We talk about the 80% rule
Yeah.
in here. That'll be some fun. And then really being open, radically open, he says, to honest communication, and that's from you and to you from others. Ask for help when you need it.
Yes.
Ask for help. And, people genuinely want to help you. They want to help you. It's okay to ask, hey, can you help me? Nothing builds a relationship better than helping somebody else. So those are some thoughts on that. We're gonna have some great dialogue in Sunday night, 7:30, or Wednesday morning. So, Joe, anything to add?
Oh, I'm excited. And uh, here we are. Third section we're talking about.
Yeah,
One more important one to go.
yeah. And we don't you don't want to just drop it just on one or two. You want to get through all four of these.
Yes.
So these are all critical. You put this all together, guys. This is setting up the foundation for, I think, a fantastic 2021. All right, Joe. Thanks, man.
Hey, thanks, Paul.
All
Thanks
right.
all. See ya.
See you on the calls.